Hi, good morning, it's Shane from maverickstar Observatory. I'll try and keep this video short, but as you can appreciate, there is a lot going on in our world and it's causing some massive uncertainties. These are the things we've talked about, like, when I described the gauntlet. The gauntlet is like an obstacle course with some very dangerous obstacles. It looks like we have hit a few of those, to mention one. The leaking out of the virology department in Wuhan with this bioweapon. It just shows us that human beings can't be trusted to be tampering with such things. It's caused probably one of the most devastating global disasters ever. It seems to be not even talked about in that light, but that is exactly what has happened, and as a result it has collapsed businesses around the world, and worse than that, it has killed now over 1 million people. When this when this pandemic started, first of all, if you remember what mainstream media was saying, and especially from the World Health Organization, they were saying that this was not a pandemic. Months later, they admitted that this was a pandemic. Remember, the World Health Organization was supposed to warn the world of things as such as this, and that's why their funding was cut off by people like Donald Trump, because they failed in every aspect to contain this problem and notify the rest of the world. And as Donald Trump said, it was almost though the World Health Organization was working for China. It doesn't really matter now. That Pandora's box has been opened, and we don't know whether that is going to be the cause of a global economic collapse. It certainly is gearing up to look like that. On that note, we've now seen, and I joked about this the other day, I said we managed to get rid of one Adolf Hitler, around 80 years ago, around about 1940s. And now we've had another 20 Adolf Hitlers pop up. Honest to God, I can't believe what is taking place right now in front of all our eyes, and we're all accepting this behaviour. There is massive infringements on human rights, and I'll directly get to the point on this. We're talking about what Europe has just announced they're going to do for unvaccinated people with regards to taxes. In some cases, they are going to fine people €3,600 every 3 months for not being vaccinated. I'm sorry, but people are supposed to be living in a democracy, and if you are taxing unvaccinated people, penalties to that level, then you are not really clearly setting out that you are all for democracy and freedoms, because it is a choice if someone wants to get vaccinated or not. And I'll just reiterate what I said in a video the other day. We had one injection for tuberculosis, and that was it. We had one treatment for rubella or all the other vaccines that we've had in the past. This one, we've had multiple companies come out with vaccines, and at the same time we've had to have more than one vaccine, and now they're asking us to have boosters, and they may say we might need another booster in the future. What will be the end result of this? When will it stop? And if you are going to force people by saying you will not be able to come to work if you're not vaccinated, or you will be heavily taxed for not being vaccinated, what freedoms do those people have? They are not giving people any choice. And this is a human rights issue, this is, because this is in my simplest analysis of this is human rights violations on a grand scale. Nobody should be forced to have a vaccine, because that is clearly assault. It's mind-boggling. I mean, what else was seen in the East with Kazakhstan? The president, because he couldn't control the protesters, and rightfully so, he broke his promise. People are living in poverty, they've got no food, they can't afford to heat their homes, and he promised them he wouldn't put up the heating bills. This is a country which is probably one of the world's richest countries in the resource of crude oil. So I don't know what's going on in that country, why the people are being punished so much with such high bills. But it seems to be, the common thing now, all around Europe, even this here in the UK. You know, energy companies have promised that we are going to see bills rising to the tune of gas and electric amounting to around about £2,000 a year per person. At the same time, we're seeing the fuel in our cars go up, we're seeing taxes go up, and we're also seeing food prices go up. One thing we're not seeing go up is wages. So, you know, they seem to think that there's an endless source of funding from low-paid peoples on low salaries, and that they can keep absorbing these extra costs. But what will inevitably happen is what happened in Kazakhstan. Now, the thing is here, is that that guy who was in charge in Kazakhstan, who gave the order, shoot to kill, has killed around about 400 protesters. One of these protesters, the woman was saying as he was lying there in the morgue with a bullet in his head, said that he went to the shop and didn't come back. The last I heard, he was on the way to the shop, he says he was okay, and next minute she found out he was dead. This isn't a terrorist. This is a protester who's protesting about the fact, you know, he can't afford to live in a system that where there is such high food prices and such high energy costs. You know, these are the things that we are all going to start to face in the coming months, maybe even years. Okay, I've got to address something. You know, yesterday we had a video that done really well as far as views, but I've never seen a video do so poor in terms of support for the observatory. We're about 3 days off doing one of the biggest videos we put out every month, and that is the latest magnetic North Pole position to see if it's following its trend. Remember in the video I said yesterday, we've got 14 months left. March next year, that magnetic pole will begin to get closest to that 40-degree mark, where we could see a very rapid increase in the migration over the northern hemisphere. We could start then to see a real noticeable magnetic pole reversal. If that's the case, the magnetosphere is going to start to weaken. It's going to allow more cosmic rays in, and if anything, what we've been watching over the last 30 years is to go by a gradual decaying of our climate on this planet, which is causing problems like floods, droughts, early forest season fires, record-breaking sub-zero temperatures and snow delivery. We could see that increase at the same rate as what the pole increases in rate in migration from that point next year. So March next year is really something to keep our eyes on. Now, with regards to funding, we earned £11 yesterday, and we cannot run an observatory on that. It's starting to look like, you know, we are going to go back into increasing the deficit that we were trying to clear off before Christmas, which we failed to do in any case. And I do not have an endless pocket where I can keep, you know, putting my time and money into this observatory. I said I don't want to start cutting people off. But if we can have 5,500 people turn up yesterday, and all we can raise out of 5,500 people is £11, something I'm pretty sure you agree has to change. It cannot continue like this. You know, we have, on a good note, someone come forward from Russia who's prepared to have one of our magnetometers. We have sent them the email address to get in touch with us, and we have also yesterday, on the success of that video, had someone from Brazil come forward and ask for one of our magnetometers. We can get them out to them, and we can continue monitoring what we are doing right now, and adding to that as well by including Russia, which is the highest intensity on our planet right now, and the lowest intensity, which is Brazil. 2 people come up yesterday and says, what can we do to help? So I've given the email. All they've got to do is get back in touch with me, and we'll start some dialogue, and we'll get that equipment out to them. But we cannot run this observatory on an £11. We all need to start getting serious about this. There is very little time left. We've been studying this for nearly a decade now, and we have the equipment in place. Is now, I just ask you, is now the time to not fund this observatory? It's a shame when we see 5,500 people taking an interest in this topic, that some said it themselves, we've been following you for over 10 years on this channel and the other channel that we had before that. But to see us arrive at a situation, a point in time where, you know, we are so close, and now the funding is drying up so much, it's like I said, you know, if we all go out for each other, if our bodies, organs all went out for each other, we would be dead in an hour. You must understand this, and it should come as no surprise if I even mention this, that, you know, the only way we are going to go forward in understanding what we are faced with this anomaly, the geomagnetic reversal and the climatic events, is if we work together. I can't work on the budget I've got anymore. It's just become impossible. And because I'm like you guys, I have a family, and, you know, I have my own costs. I cannot afford to keep going into my pocket anymore. You've got to realise you're very lucky. You've got a fully qualified scientist, and we have the equipment out in the field because I took the time to study how to write code and build these electronics for us, so that we wouldn't have to find hundreds of thousands of pounds. With the peanuts that we've raised, we've really achieved some milestones. We've got the equipment out there in the field, and we're going to be putting more out there this year, only because we are getting almost that closer to something significantly happening and taking place on our Earth, and we should all be interested in that. So on the back of that, there is a link down there in the description, and I hope that we can encourage a few more people to start coming forward. There are, as I know and you guys know, genuine cases where people just haven't got the money. But if you're telling me 5,500 people haven't got the money, yet they want the data, then I know that that's not the case. We have to start working together. There's a link down there if you want to help support what we do. I'm hoping that we do get some more support for this, because like I said, we got 3 days before probably one of the biggest videos we do every month on the 17th, and that is the pinpointing of the magnetic North Pole locations. So, you know, we need to work together. It's as simple as that. You are not going to find this information on any other YouTube channel, I guarantee you. They are not following the scientific method of taking, you know, measurements with equipment and recording it, and then, you know, doing the processing on that on that data, so that you can be put in a chart so that you can understand what is going on. So with that, guys, I will say, like I usually do, you know, you take care of yourselves. There's a link down there in the description, and what I will say is bye for now.